How long did I have an eating disorder? What were my favorite binge foods? Did I have extreme hunger? Am I married? How much do I weigh? I'm gonna answer all of those questions in today's video. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kevin and I am making eating disorder recovery simple. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button because I'm releasing new content every week. After making videos for 2.5 years, I realized that I have never made a Q&A video. I've been collecting questions since this channel started and I'm finally going to answer some of them. Remember, this video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not a registered dietitian, I'm just a guy who used to have an eating disorder and now I help other people overcome them. Let's get to it. The first question is, when did you develop an eating disorder? It was when I was 20 years old, which is usually when people develop these kinds of behaviors. If you listen to most people's stories, it starts at an early age, high school, college, you're impressionable, immature, insecure, all of those reasons. And you're also bold. But you also lack the ability to properly apply information, and that was my problem. I was learning all this stuff, but I didn't know how to apply it. Clearly, right? Like I knew what to do, but I didn't know how to execute it. I became really rigid, I became really orthorexic, which I can talk about in another video. I also started to obsess about what I ate. I began to obsess about my body image. I eliminated food groups. That orthorexia eventually turned into chewing and spitting disorder, which turned into bulimia, which turned into binging and restricting. From the time I became orthorexic to the time I can say that I was recovered, that was a time span of about 12.5 years. That's a long time. That's a lot of wasted energy and that's a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted money. So who knows where I would be if I had never done that. But that's all for not now. When was your first episode? I was working at a Whole Foods market, so this was like 2007, like summer of 2007. I was a junior in college. At Whole Foods, they don't throw away food, they put it into a compost bin. It's kind of cool. I like how they do that. But I decided one night to eat a ton of fruit. I remember how I felt after that. I felt like, wow, what just happened? Like, what just came over me? It was like this storm. Fortunately, it was just fruit. It wasn't like chocolate and nuts and really like high fat, high sugar foods. But I still felt terrible and I had this sense of guilt. I didn't feel guilty because I was technically stealing the food. I felt guilty because I was out of control. And I prided myself on having this really regimented, healthy diet. And now here I was spending 30 minutes at the end of the shift just consuming as much fruit as I possibly could. Fortunately, I was only part-time and it only happened about once a week. So I went home, I forgot about it, and I just moved on with my life. But then it turned into a weekly habit, and then eventually that turned into chewing and spitting, and then bulimia, and it went on from there. I was in denial. Like I didn't think that was a big problem. I thought I was just really hungry. I didn't know what to think, actually. I didn't think it was going to progress to anything after that. Man, was I wrong about that. Did I ever seek therapy? So I went to therapy, if you can call it therapy, a few times, and I met this very nice Taiwanese woman. I forget her name. I wish I could like follow up with her, but I went there a few times and I guess it helped a little bit to express what I was feeling. I was just in this very serious, regimented state of my life where nothing was fun and I was super judgmental, and I looked at other people and I thought, how can they eat like that? I was immature, but I was also no fun, and I don't think I was in a state of mind where I could benefit from therapy. You have to want therapy, and I think my parents sent me there. They're like, Kevin, you need to have therapy, you have a problem, and I agreed to do it. But I remember that last session I had with her, and she said, I still think you have an eating disorder. And I was like, no, I don't. Yeah, she was right, because not too long after that, that's when I started to chew and spit my food. What is it like to be a male with an eating disorder? It's not much different from being a female. I mean, how would I know? I mean, I can only live one life, but I think the feelings are the same, you know, guilt, shame, anxiety. Then you start gaining weight, you don't like that either, and then you eat to cover those feelings, and then it turns into this habit, then you don't know how to stop, And then there's the secrecy because I was still living at home at the time and I was trying to hide it, and I did that very well. So I don't think it was different. Like, I don't think my experience was different from what a 23 or 24-year-old female would feel. How long did you have a disorder? Well, like I said, so if we go back to, say, 2007, I was still in college, to my last episode, like what you can call an episode, that was about 12 years. But then it took me time to eliminate those episodes. You know, it was a few more months. So like 12 and a half years, gosh, that's such a long time. And those were good years, like my 20s. Don't waste good years on an eating disorder. You're only going to be in your 20s once. You're only going to be in your 30s once. So if you're watching this and you're 19, 20, 21, you have a chance to nip this in the bud. I don't. I can't get that time back. It's one of the reasons I like helping people overcome this, like especially when they're younger. I can save them years. Like, I can't get those years back. What's the difference between orthorexia and anorexia? I think it's just a matter of degree. So when I was orthorexic, I remember eating about 2,300 calories a day. The problem was I was burning like 3,200, 3,300, because not only did I develop orthorexia, but that's when I got into triathlon. I was like obsessed with triathlon the last couple of years of college, even though I didn't really have the money to do it. I did a couple of races back then. I did pretty well too. Considering that I didn't have a coach and I had no prior experience, like I had no history in like college athletics. So working at Whole Foods, and I was doing triathlons, and I was reading Men's Health like religiously, that's a really bad combination. Although I can't blame any of those. I can't blame mass media. I can't blame triathlon. I can't blame Whole Foods. I still shop at Whole Foods sometimes. I can't blame anybody except me. Like, I made those decisions on my own. So part of recovery is taking full responsibility. I can't blame my parents. They were good parents. I had a good childhood, grew up in a good neighborhood. I had every advantage and I blew it. Anyway, back to orthorexia, anorexia. Anorexia, it's extremely restricted, right? You're eating 400, 500 calories a day. You are counting every bite. It's just another level of obsession. And then there's also the literal fear of eating and gaining weight. I don't know if I had the fear of gaining weight, but I desperately wanted to avoid it. I didn't want to get old and fat. You know, not that I should have been worried about that when I was 21 years old, but you know, I saw people who were 25, 30 years older than me, and I thought, man, I really don't want to be that. That was like my greatest fear in life. So yeah, I guess I had a fear of gaining weight. I didn't fear food, but I was really restricted. Like, my diet was really poor, and I cut out food groups, and I didn't eat anything with sugar, and it had to be this way. It was just super regimented. But when you're eating 2,200 calories a day and you're burning 3,000, that's not really anorexic. What do you think? I mean, what's the difference between orthorexia and anorexia? Did I provide a good definition? If I didn't, let me know. Did you have extreme hunger? I don't remember being really, really hungry when I was orthorexic. But when I started chewing and spitting, and then I had those episodes in the back room of Whole Foods, I guess that was extreme hunger in a way. And I remember that first time I chewed and spit, I had that feeling like something had overtaken me. And looking back, I think it was just my body trying to protect me. Now, that became a chronic habit, and after a while, I can't say that it was a survival urge. It became this addiction. It became something that I really enjoyed. It became the one thing that I really looked forward to. But those first few episodes, I think that was extreme hunger. When I ate 4 pounds of fruit in the back of a Whole Foods or more, you know, like, I had indentations in my face, no testosterone, poor bone density, I got shin splints. It was a nightmare. I visited more physicians in 2007, 2008 than in the rest of my life combined. Think about that. Oh, but I was just trying to be healthy, and I did this for health. Yeah, right. But I didn't have extreme hunger when I finally recovered from binge eating all those years later. There were times when I wanted to have more, but that was more like mental hunger. But I never had this feeling that I had to eat a ton of food. Even as I approached my target weight range, I still didn't have the extreme hunger. Speaking of which, somebody asked me, how much do you weigh? This is kind of a personal question. I can't believe somebody would ask this. But I do talk about weight and eating disorders a lot, so it's like, I guess I should just be upfront about this. My weight range is like 58 to 62 kilograms. I use kilograms. I don't know why. I live in the States. Most people use pounds here, but anyway, in pounds, that's like 128 to 136 pounds, somewhere in that range. It kind of fluctuates during the year, which is not a problem, by the way. If your weight goes up a little bit in the winter and then it goes down in the summer, that is actually normal. Anyway, I keep it in that range. The last time I weighed myself, I was about just under 60 kgs, like 131 pounds, which is a good weight for me. Now notice that is about 10 pounds more than I was when I was really orthorexic. Now had I been that weight at that time, I would have freaked out like, oh my gosh, 130 pounds. 130 pounds is fine. And one thing you might have to accept in recovery is that your weight might be higher than you want it to be. You probably have unrealistic expectations about what your weight should be. I have no desire to go back to that weight. I was very unhealthy. I didn't feel good. I didn't look good. I had no testosterone. I was this weak, pathetic creature. So that is my weight, which is a good weight for me because I'm only 5'4". I'm a short dude. You know, so which weight class is that? Is that like featherweight or lightweight? I don't know. Whatever it is, it's a good weight for me. And how do I know it's a good weight? I sleep well, I go to the gym, I can work out, hour and a half a day. I still eat a good amount of food, like 2,600 calories a day. My weight stays stable. That's how I know. How did you manage an ED when you were in grad school? So I made a video about this a few months ago because when I was in grad school, I was binge eating all the time. I don't know if it was the stress, I don't know if it was an escape, probably, but it was bad. And it took away my focus. And had I flunked out of school, I think that would have been devastating. I don't know if I would have recovered from that. It would have been really embarrassing and humiliating, like to go back home and say, hey, I flunked out of grad school. But part of the reason was because I was binge eating. And when you're binge eating, you don't have any focus. You can't think about it. When you're eating the food and then just after the episode, and then when you have that compulsion, and then you're always strategizing about it, you're always thinking about it. It was always in my mind. I don't know how I passed any of my tests in grad school. So if you're thinking about going to grad school, especially something in like the health and medical field, you really need to figure this out before you go. What were your favorite binge foods? Oh boy. I would say, it's hard to say because there were different phases of my disorder. And sometimes I really emphasize salty food, sometimes I emphasize sweet food, sometimes, I don't know, I would just go through phases. Cliff Bars, I probably had thousands of Cliff Bars in my life. Ice cream was another big one. Chocolate chip cookies, especially the really soft ones that you can find at grocery stores, are really good. Cinnamon Toast Crunch was good. Frozen burritos, that was one of the weird ones. I don't know why, but I would eat like 6 in a row. You know those like Amy's burritos that you find in the frozen section? They're vegetarian, and most of them don't have cheese, and I hate cheese, by the way. There's a piece of trivia for you. But I would eat, 4 or 5 of those, and then I would have some Reese's peanut butter cups, that's another one, or some candy, or some cereal, and then I would finish it with something sweet like ice cream. Chipotle burritos were good, Qdoba was good, Panda Express. Did I mention Panda Express in the last video? I think I did, but the orange chicken, wow, that was really good. I remember after grad school, that's when I discovered fast food, and that was awesome. Milkshakes, that was another one. Sonic milkshakes. Man, I've had more Sonic milkshakes for a lifetime. So those were some of my favorite binge foods. What were yours? Let me know. Did you tell anybody about your eating disorder? The therapist, yeah, I told her that I had orthorexia. And then I remember I told one friend in grad school, but nothing ever came of that. And this was a friend who lived in a different state, so like what was he gonna do about it? But other than that, I didn't tell anybody until after the fact. I don't think it would have helped. I wanted to deal with this on my own. I wanted the secrecy. And looking back, I think that was the right choice, because what was anybody gonna do about it? Like recommend therapy or what? What were they going to do? And that was my line of thinking. And then I always thought, I'm gonna recover next week, next month, next trimester, next whatever. So why bother telling them? Because recovery is right around the corner. The problem was recovery was around the corner for 6 or 7 years, longer than that. I always kept saying tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. It's like I want to enjoy myself right now with the expectation and the hope that tomorrow will be better. So it was like two different addictions at once. And then finally, somebody asked me, are you married? Do you have a family? No, I don't have a family. I mean, I have sisters. I have 2 parents and 2 sisters, which is awesome. But I'm not married myself. I'm not in a relationship. I live alone. I live a pretty simple life. In the future, I'll make a video about how to be a minimalist and how to live a really simple life. I've made a video before about diet minimalism, and I'll make future videos about diet minimalism. But if you want to keep things really simple in life, don't get married. Now, there are good reasons to get married, but when you get married and you have kids, you're not making your life simpler, right? You're making it more complicated. You just have to weigh the pros and cons there. Will I get married in the future? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Right now, I'm happy. And then finally, are you straight? Yes, I'm very straight. I'm straighter than a toothpick. If you're gay and you're watching this channel, welcome to the channel. And speaking of sexuality or marital status, you can have an eating disorder whether you're gay, straight, married, unmarried. I think if you're married, it makes it a little more complicated because there's other people involved. Your sexual status doesn't really matter. I could be wrong about that. You know, if I'm wrong, let me know. But whether you're a male, female, straight, gay, it just doesn't make a difference. I think what does make a difference is when you're living with other people. That's it for today's Q&A. I'll make more Q&As in the future. If you have more questions for me, let me know in the comments below, or you can send me a message by email or WhatsApp. Information is in the description box. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. And as always, eat the way you're designed to.